Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I say this every time, but I love it when I get to focus my programs on LinkedIn, because I think that every single professional, let me say that again, every single professional, pay attention to that, should be on LinkedIn. It is the place to be making your network connections, your business connections, building your career, all of those things. And so that's why I love being able to dedicate an entire month to LinkedIn. And today we're wrapping up with a doctor. Oh my gosh. I love it when we have someone on the program who, this is absolutely fabulous. So please join me in welcoming Todd Mann to our program today. Welcome, Todd. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to join your show. I am doing fantastic.
Great. And of course, you are Dr. Mann.
I am. Yes. An education doctorate,
yes.
Specialized.
No prescription writing, but yeah.
Yeah, no prescription writing. But adult learning, definitely.
Yes. Okay. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will dive into this because I'm so excited to have you on the program today. So Todd Mann is a senior adult learning and development partner with 13 years of experience as a dean of education. He has extensive experience in accreditation, instructional design, regulatory and compliance issues for post-secondary education institutions. Woo, that's a mouthful. His academic credentials include a BA in psychology, an MBA with a concentration in information systems management, and as we mentioned, his doctorate in education for adult education. Todd is a thought leader in the space of higher education and web technologies. He works to build long-lasting relationships through regular engagement, accountability, and common goals fulfilled. He is currently also a small business owner of Chatbot Genius, LLC, and operates a school of direct response marketing. Holy schmoly, that is quite the credentials.
Yes, you make me sound very important.
You are very important. You are. Well, I always love asking my guests how it is that they got to where they are today. So tell us about how you discovered that this is your passion in life.
It was never my intent to be an educator. However, my entire family comes from a family of teachers and doctors. And
Wonderful.
So it was kind of inbred. I had no direction in college specific. I liked psychology. At one point, I considered being a psychiatrist. And then, the thought of having to deal with other people's problems in that format just didn't appeal to me. I spent 1 year in a facility. And, I found a better calling in, hey, how can I teach before we get to a certain point?
Right.
And so, I began to engage, off and on beyond college with a career in staffing and recruiting. And then shortly after that, I found myself in the career services department for a school. And then from that hypergrowth school, I would call it, I aspired to be a dean of education. Director of education was the title at the time. Reason being, I noticed that the directors of education at these particular facilities did not have a degree. And I was wondering, how's that?
Right.
So that put me in my own perspective, say, hey, well, you can qualify for this. And so I did, took notes, got some recommendations from the owners, say, hey, come to these meetings. And I didn't know she was setting me up for success. These meetings were accreditation, regulatory compliance, things I did not want to be in. The youngest, in the room to do it was not dressed properly. Everybody's kind of overclassing me. But she encouraged me to say, I need another body in here and I want you in here. And so from there, I did.
She wanted your intellect. Mhm.
She
Mhm.
did. She could see. I guess I was transparent to her.
Mhm.
She was one of the people who was part of the hiring decision,
Okay.
and supported my career there all the way to the director of education position. So she
Wonderful.
saw something in me I couldn't see.
Mhm.
And there, I decided to put myself back in school
Mhm.
and achieve a master's in information systems technology, and eventually, because I knew eventually, computers would be involved in business some kind of way. Just couldn't figure out how.
Mhm.
At the time, people were just worried about getting on the internet.
Mhm.
And later, putting myself back through school, I said, hey,
Mhm.
I need to become an adult learning specialist.
Mhm.
And so I sought my education doctorate alongside working the job of a dean of education. So I was getting practical experience as well
Right.
as study,
Mhm.
from some of the better ones in faculty in the business, I would say, and able to take, our, conversations right into our campus.
Mhm.
And at some point after that 13-year kind of span, I decided, hey, why don't I apply this knowledge in something that I see coming forward?
Mhm.
And that is online marketing. It had not been very described yet.
Mhm.
Facebook was just now making its buzz
Right.
outside of a college
Mhm.
kind of environment. Nobody really knew what it was, was about, what it was going to turn into.
Mhm.
And I trailed my School of Direct Response Marketing in the pattern of what Facebook offers for small business owners, how to
Okay.
efficiently
Mhm.
market their products.
Mhm.
And so here we are, just kind of sharing,
Mhm.
my journey up until, how I opened the school,
Mhm.
but originally it was intended only for me. I intended to be a repository of my learning
Okay.
of things. And
Mhm.
once I learned and helped some business owners, entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
I quickly realized you're returning back to your calling, which is, being an administrator of an online campus
Mhm.
that helps small business owners.
Mhm.
And that's the only thing I didn't get a chance to do in the other school, was help business owners
Right.
versus helping individuals.
Mhm. Right. I love hearing that because you kept educating yourself and then
Mhm.
using that education,
Mhm.
and seeing all these trends. I mean, because that's the hard part. I remember, oh gosh, it's been a little over 10 years ago. So about the point where were doing some of these things, I was meeting with someone who was in the same field as me, PR and marketing, and I was
Mhm.
saying, hey, Facebook and Twitter and these things are really going to be important for businesses,
Mhm.
especially from a marketing standpoint. And
Right.
she laughed and she said, "That's a trend. It will go
Right.
away."
Yeah.
And I remind her of that every once in a while. But
Mhm.
it was, and I think that was true because that was the point where they what was it? Farmland, right? Wasn't that one of the games? Because I
Mhm.
remember I got on Facebook and somebody immediately asked me for something for my farm, and I'm like, What?"
Right. Yeah.
And clearly it was initially built for students. I mean, that
Right.
was the thing to for them to keep in touch, but it also was not built for professionals.
Right.
It was the cute cat videos. I mean,
Right.
how many plates of food did we see? Here's what I'm eating, all of those things. But somewhere in there, it transitioned. And of course, the first one really obviously was LinkedIn, who
Uh-huh.
who said, okay, no cute cat videos, no plates of
Right.
food. This
Yeah.
is where we're going to be professional. So when did you
Right.
really start, thinking, okay, LinkedIn is so important?
A couple of years ago, but not very clear on
Hmm.
how.
Hmm.
LinkedIn was still carrying the persona of this is where you go if you are a recruiter,
Right. Hmm.
HR looking
Hmm.
for a job, or if you are a CEO.
Hmm.
It had not really kind of been adaptive to,
Hmm.
small businesses yet, other
Right.
than the fact that, hey, I need to be on there because,
Hmm.
all the other business owners are on there and I need
Hmm.
to be on
Right.
there. But a couple of years ago, I started to realize that LinkedIn is going to be, after Facebook kind of figures it out,
Hmm.
LinkedIn is going to be the professional business community
Hmm.
that accelerates business
Hmm.
growth. Facebook will have its role, but LinkedIn will be that respected, that at a class
Right.
kind of professional business community.
Hmm.
And there will be a lot of the things that mirrored on all platforms, such as
Hmm.
advertising,
Hmm.
targeting your audience, knowing who
Right.
you're speaking
Hmm.
to. All those things are traditional on any platform. It's
Hmm.
just about how, your speak approach or your conversational style.
Mhm.
And on LinkedIn, your conversational style is professional.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can be posting the same thing across multiple
Yes.
platforms, but
Mhm.
it shouldn't just be cut and paste. It
Yeah.
really does need to be tailored. I mean, like you were saying, it could be it should be very professional on LinkedIn. On Facebook, you might have some emojis, and things like that. Twitter, you're going to shorten it down to, the 260 characters, which I
Mhm.
really have a hard time doing.
Yes.
And then of course you all of the other platforms that come and go. I don't even sign up for them because I would get so easily distracted. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not, I know that they're there. I know that but no, I'm not there. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how each one does have its purpose. And I think so many times people sometimes forget that.
Yeah. I think with LinkedIn, once you realize it's professional, that's the first layer.
Mhm.
The second layer is, okay, now find your professional voice.
Right.
What should you sound like on
Mhm.
LinkedIn?
Mhm.
What should you be committed to giving the LinkedIn community?
Mhm.
Because when professionals come to the LinkedIn community,
Mhm.
they're looking for content from subject matter experts.
Mhm.
And they may not necessarily want to read it, go and find it, but they will make a connection with someone that they respect
Mhm.
and allow them to share that information,
Mhm.
share their customer's journey, share a lot of things that should be insightful,
Mhm.
deep, and complex expertise.
Mhm.
And that's what LinkedIn is definitely driving to now, which is why my professional voice on LinkedIn is thought leadership.
Right. Right. And it's funny, we were talking before the program. To
Mhm.
me, thought leadership is very important, especially for a senior executive, a business owner. And through all of these interviews that I've done, all that we mention it, but we don't go
Mhm.
into detail. So I
Mhm.
love that you think that it is so important. So tell us, what is thought leadership and why in the heck should we be doing it?
That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked. It is. Well, let me back up and tell you my belief. My belief is that small business owners
Mhm.
and thought leaders, first of all, should be posting on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You're already a thought leader.
Mm-hmm.
All that's left is to get the word out on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And LinkedIn gives us this unique opportunity to express your deep and your complex expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are certain audiences that should be, posting as thought leaders on LinkedIn. So I don't want to have a canned response.
Mm-hmm.
I include those to be adjunct faculty of marketing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
small business owners,
Mm-hmm.
CEOs, human resource consultants,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a certain richness from each perspective of understanding and insight that, other people are hungry to hear.
Right.
In fact, being active on LinkedIn is my number one recommendation to adjunct faculty marketers, marketing, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. Now, to answer your question, why do I think thought leadership is so important on LinkedIn? This is the opportunity as we look at business for people to share in the community the knowledge of what should marketing look like,
Mm.
beyond the dancing videos on TikTok or, all the comical things that, you cat on Facebook, okay, now how do you use the tool?
Right.
And the way to use the tool is to share the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally that knowledge should come from a C-level executive level where they're sharing their branding or, sharing their demand for their product. And the salespeople of these organizations, and this is where they missed the boat.
Mm-hmm.
The salespeople of these organizations should actually be chiming in on the C-level executives post. And what I want to be clear on how to do that, though. Sharing isn't just going there and saying, read this or resharing to your post.
Buy from me.
Oh, that's my favorite one. Of course, we want to buy from you. Just not yet. Tell me a little bit more about why.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear your insight on it. Unique to you. Yeah, you can share what the CEO put on a timeline, but I really want to hear about your particular customer success story. I want to hear about what your particular opinion is from it. And that's at least 2 or 3 lines.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't often get that. So
right.
Thought leadership, I don't care in what role you are, is important.
Mhm.
And the reason I include adjunct faculty of marketing, because at some point we have to hand these tools of LinkedIn over to the new, what I
Right.
call a marketing apprentices that's coming in, and they have a frontline voice
Mhm.
with our current students that are, taking marketing classes.
Right.
So they should be included in the equation.
Mhm.
They should be learning LinkedIn as
Mhm.
well, because they already have a thought leadership
Mhm.
voice. So all of it kind of goes together
Mhm.
with that thought leadership concept. It's just difficult to get everybody to play in the same sandbox
Right.
together.
Right. Now, Todd, what do you tell people who say, I'm not important, nobody cares?
Right.
Why would anybody care? I'm not, because we hear the term thought leader,
Mhm.
and oh my gosh, doesn't that sound impressive?
Mhm.
And so if you're just, the business owner who does business out of their spare room,
Mhm.
all of those various things, or maybe they've got, a brick and mortar place or something like that, but
Mhm.
they think nobody cares. Why would somebody care? So what do you tell somebody who says that?
You would be surprised at what people value in terms of your opinion if you know how to present it. For example, YouTube does a pretty good job in their channels. If you'll notice, there are some people that compare different products.
Right.
They will give their comparison, and oftentimes it's a free trial.
Mhm.
Compare this
Mhm.
to that.
Mhm.
And the reason that's important is because if I'm making a buying decision,
Mhm.
I don't know the difference. I haven't had that experience. I haven't gone through that customer journey,
Mhm.
but you have. And I trust that you are the same as me.
Mhm.
So that's why it's important for you who think you're not important
Mhm.
to express your thought on
Right.
LinkedIn, because I'm the same as you. And hopefully I can benefit vicariously from your experience in that. So that's one, kind of example. The other one I like to highlight is customer reviews.
Mhm.
And we rely on that so much in today's age, because before it was about referrals,
Right.
and it still is.
Mhm.
But guess who's the new word of mouth?
Mhm.
Customer reviews.
Right.
So if you take your time to give a review about a product, that is, a simplistic way of looking at it, but that is your thought leadership, because you give a review and then you also make a comment, and that comment and review will impact my buying decision, which all sales business teams and all C-level executives should be concerned with. So that is why it's important for you to express your opinion and share your thoughts on any the professional platforms, but more especially on LinkedIn.
Right. Right. And we talk about this a lot on the program because of word of mouth and the importance. An ad is, something very specific.
Mhm.
And typically you don't pay any attention to the ads unless you're looking for whatever that product is, right?
Right.
But it is, it's going to only have the good points. I mean, all of these things. But we could see an ad for, say, a couch
Mhm.
500 times. We don't care. But we can see
You're right.
somebody who, and they, probably wouldn't do this on LinkedIn, but we might see it on Twitter, on Facebook.
Right.
Somebody we never know, have never met. They're a person, saying, oh my gosh, I bought this couch. It's the greatest thing in the world. Or it's the
Mhm.
stiffest, it's horrible, it's awful. We're going to believe them more than the 500 ads that we saw,
Oh, absolutely.
even if we don't know them.
Absolutely. It's something about connecting, like-minded people seem to find each other.
Right.
And from that connection, then, we start to look at, okay, what is this person interested in commenting on?
Mhm.
And then you validate why you connected.
Mhm.
And then, you look at, each other's buying power.
Mhm.
And once you decide that you're interested in a product, because, I mean, we're adults, you can't force us to buy anything.
Right.
But however, when it's time, when we need it,
Mhm.
we don't want to search for you.
Mhm.
We want you to have it in our face.
Mhm.
And oftentimes that person that's just expressing their personal opinion
Mhm.
is the one that brings it to our personal space at that time.
Right. Right. And if it's a product or a service, it is, we're not talking about a couch or laundry detergent or something like that. We are
Right.
talking, from a professional perspective. So,
Right.
I might be talking about Todd's programs that he offers, things like that. and that's a very different type of product review.
Mhm.
And it is very important to share that. I'm in a group, and we talk about validating each other.
Right.
And I think that's so important
It
to
is.
do that.
Yes.
And because again, we'll believe complete and total strangers,
Mhm.
but it's and I love that perspective. So that's and that is one of the ways I think that a lot of people never stop to think is a way to use LinkedIn,
Right.
to promote
Right.
others.
Right.
And whether you're just sharing a post of theirs, it's great. I'm looking through the feed right now showing your activity, and you're really big on that, sharing someone else's post
Mhm.
and talking about why it's important, why it matters, things like that. And I don't know if you know these people in real life or not, but
Yeah.
you're
That's
sharing their
right.
content, and that
Right.
is such a great thing to do.
Right. And the other good thing, benefit that comes from that is you're also branding yourself
Right.
just by sharing the knowledge.
Mhm.
Because who knows, how are you going to be seen? Who knows what that other person
Mhm.
has in terms of their contacts.
Mhm.
And again, when you need a product or service or consulting,
Mhm.
you're going to look back at or that impression that was left from that person's comment. Maybe the impression that you need at that time to go out and seek that person versus
Mhm.
another. So
Right.
I always kind of think of LinkedIn as your own billboard,
Mhm.
and you're getting it for free.
Mhm.
All you
Right.
have to do is know how to use it
Mhm.
correctly.
Mhm. Right. And use it is the appropriate term. I mean,
Use
how
it
many
first.
times do we look
Right.
at I looked at somebody's profile yesterday and it said hasn't recently posted,
Mhm.
like in years. You know,
Right.
and
Right.
I one of the things I tell people is if you're going to be there, be there. Don't go in and have your profile. It doesn't matter if you've got a profile that hits it out of the park or two sentences. If you're
Mhm.
going to be there, be there. If you're not going to use it, then don't be there. Because when I look at somebody's profile that they haven't done anything with,
Mhm.
I think, do they still exist? I mean, you do that with
Yeah.
a business, right?
Right.
They haven't
Yeah.
updated their website in 10 years. Are they
Right.
still even in business?
Yeah.
And so, it's and we're not talking spending hours a day on this, folks.
No.
This is something, and that's where sharing other people's content
Mhm.
really is a benefit because you're
Mhm.
getting your presence known,
Mhm.
and you're helping somebody else.
Mhm. And that's the amazing thing that LinkedIn has done to kind of make it easier for us
Mhm.
to share others' content because
Mhm.
you don't have a lot of time,
Right.
but you do have an opinion,
Mhm.
and if you can just give us that real fast
Mhm.
and hit the post
Mhm.
button, then we'd appreciate it,
Mhm.
because LinkedIn needs content
Mhm.
and they want intelligent
Mhm.
content, so it will make the platform just a lot more
Mhm.
credible if we
Right.
get more people doing substantive and
Mhm.
regular posting.
Right. Yeah, and I always tell people don't just share, say something about it.
Say something.
And because I want to know, did you like it? Did you not like it?
Mhm.
You've I'm reading one of yours right now and I'm just randomly reading this one. So,
Mhm.
it's you're
Okay.
one of the you're posting well. I'm not concerned that you're going to
Uh-oh.
post something
Okay.
you shouldn't. And so you're sharing someone else's content and you said, "Thanks for posting." One of
Mhm.
the ways to stay relevant is to invest learning in the human psychology of
Mhm.
conversation.
Mhm.
AI is only as intelligent as we make it. The
Mhm.
art of a conversation is critical for AI to have human like conversations.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So you're going to generate comments on that,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you shared someone else's content. And to
Right.
me, that is the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. In that case, what you're doing is branding
Hmm.
and not being salesy or forward.
Hmm.
You're just expressing an opinion.
Hmm.
And it's one that's very much needed because there's a scare factor for some people that, okay, AI is going to take over the
Right.
world.
Hmm.
Yes, it will have an impact.
Hmm.
However, you can't take over human like conversation, which is, really what we're doing
Hmm.
now.
Right, right. And I mean, we might end up talking about chatbots, which
Right.
use AI, and I love that. But yeah, I always have, it's always fun when I go to something and I type in a question and I know what
Uh-huh.
type of response I get.
Uh-huh.
But we also have AI that is already in LinkedIn,
Mhm, mhm.
and I always find it very interesting when I get. Usually, it's a request to connect.
Right.
And it's like, pretty sure this person doesn't know me because
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
they and I never just completely dump them,
Right. Right.
and so I respond,
Right.
and I am at the paid level, so I can
Right.
send in mails, and so I'll send them an
Right.
email and I'll say thank you so much for your request to
Mhm.
connect. I treasure my contact list and I
Mhm.
guard it.
Mhm.
So I am, I only want to connect with people that it's mutually beneficial, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
say, please tell me how you think it would be a great
Mhm.
connection for us to connect.
Mhm.
Half
Mhm.
the time I get nothing, which
Yeah.
means it probably was an AI and it went, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, I want to get a response where, it's clearly they respond, they've got their
Uh-huh.
system set up to
Uh-huh.
respond
Uh-huh.
with some, something that really doesn't make sense, based on what I just responded.
Mhm.
Or I get a person.
Right.
And when I get the person, even if they immediately try and sell me something, I will
Mhm.
almost always try and connect with them.
Yeah.
Just because they took the time as that person to
Uh-huh.
reach out to me.
Yeah.
And we can certainly automate things in LinkedIn.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But as you said, we still have to have that human touch.
Yeah, we do. And I'm guilty. I use chatbots, artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
to connect with people.
Right.
And your experience there is what I run across often.
Hmm.
And, I always advise people
Hmm.
to, you need two things when you invest in, any kind of software
Hmm.
conversation. You need the product. And
Right.
if
Hmm.
people are out there,
Hmm.
then you need consulting
Hmm.
to be, how to learn how to
Right.
use the chatbot to
Hmm.
conversate with a
Hmm.
person. For example, it's very easy to put in the right message, in the introduction and
Hmm.
request and connect.
Right.
However, what do you do next?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I always advise people to stop your software automation
Hmm.
after you say thank you for connecting with me. Hope you're doing well.
Right. Right.
Because at that point, that connection should be human. So
Hmm.
you can diagnose
Hmm.
whether you could continue with your
Hmm.
line automation, or is this going to be one of those one-offs that you need to
Mhm,
start a conversation
mhm,
with, get to know, and start the automation later, or if you have to totally
mhm,
go manual.
mhm,
So you have those three selections, but people get
mhm,
lazy.
mhm. Oh,
They decide they're
well,
going to program the automation and just let it go. And
and
that's what
and I tell people we only have 28 hours in our day, right?
you're right.
So that's part of why we use some of these automations.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes if you have someone else who
Mhm.
responds for you.
Mhm.
And that happens. We're busy.
Mhm.
We outsource it. All of those various things. And, but I still remember one time where I had sent a request to connect to a close business friend. I mean, this was
Uh-huh.
someone I had done business with for years.
Okay.
It was very bizarre that we weren't connected on LinkedIn. And that
Okay.
was actually what I sent to her when I discovered we weren't. Oh my gosh, it's hard to
Mhm.
believe that we weren't connected on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And the response I got back was, "Hello, Deborah." Now I don't go by Deborah. My
Ah.
LinkedIn is Deborah. I
Yeah.
mean, and because there is a Deb career, so I do Deborah there.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And so, but people who know me know that not even my mother calls me Deborah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so if you call
Okay.
me Deborah, I immediately know that you don't know me.
Right.
And
Right.
so, I get this response from her, and it said, "Hello, Deborah. It is very nice to meet you.
Mhm.
At some point, it would be nice to have a greater conversation,
Mhm.
blah 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 type of thing."
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I was offended, and
Yeah,
I let
you
her
should
know
be.
it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's a way around that too. That people should be transparent and let
Hmm.
them know. You should be known that, hey, you're speaking to conversational
Right.
AI.
Yeah.
I hope to help you in such a
Hmm.
way and connect you with blah blah blah.
Hmm. Hmm.
He's away taking care of clients right now, but he's made the adjustment for me to be available
Hmm.
for you
Right.
24/7.
And then we think it's cute, right?
Yeah, and then you accept it.
Mhm.
One of the things I do with my chat bots is I give them a personality.
Okay.
Because the intent of a chatbot, that
Mhm.
artificial conversation, is to get information at
Right.
some point down the
Hmm.
road.
Hmm. For
But
that human to take over.
for that human to
Hmm.
take over, because at
Hmm.
some point there has to be, in my opinion, it should be in good business a face to face at some
Hmm.
point. If
Right.
you're selling a service,
Hmm.
you maybe
Hmm.
get away with selling a product like a couch we were talking about
Right.
earlier.
Hmm.
But if it's a personal service and you're a small business owner, you
Hmm.
want to have that personal
Hmm.
touch at the end, but you want to
Hmm.
multiply yourself with that virtual assistant, which we're
Hmm.
calling a chatbot. So the
Right.
personality I give mine is, sometimes I give little corny jokes
Uh-huh.
in between there just to get that giggle so that they will feel okay about proceeding with the conversation
Right. Right.
with
Yeah,
the
if I know I'm communicating with an AI, with a chatbot,
uh-huh,
I also write my questions or responses differently.
uh-huh.
If it's a
Right,
person, I might get a little rambly. If
right.
I know it's, and in fact, you and I met on Lunch Club, which is a
Uh-huh.
great online
Oh,
networking
absolutely. Yeah.
platform. And I sent them a question. Now I know I was I was sending a question to an AI.
Hmm.
And so I kept it very simple and very basic.
Hmm.
And my question to them was, why don't you ever schedule meetings on Monday or Tuesday?
Uh-huh.
Because, those familiar with Lunch Club
Yeah.
know that it only does Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
And the response I got back was really funny because it was clearly from the AI.
Uh-huh.
That is a situation we are looking into exploring.
Right.
I thought, yeah, okay. So I
Yeah.
got what I asked for, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Traditionally, what people should do is look at each and every response that doesn't match with
Hmm.
conversational AI so that the next person that experiences
Right.
you make some adjustments.
Hmm.
My particular way of doing that is, I have a chatbot program to
Hmm.
say, I am a conversational AI. I do
Hmm.
not understand what you're telling me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, I value the fact that you're still talking with me.
Hmm.
I'd like to put conversational AI arms around you and give you a hug. Uh,
Oh. Hmm.
and then, allow
Hmm.
that person to respond to it. But you
Right.
get that effect,
Hmm.
just as you just expressed.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, well, I work with
Hmm.
what's going on here.
Hmm. Right, right. Well, and then you always want to somehow give them the option to take it to a different level.
Yes.
And I think that's what happened with the Lunch Club thing was I went back and forth with the AI a couple of times, and then I think it finally said, "Would you like a response
Yes.
from one of
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
associates?"
Yeah. Well, that was good.
And yeah, and so that was fine.
Right.
But
Right.
and of course chatbots and AIs, they do free up your time. Because
Hmm.
there are so many basic questions.
Hmm.
you know, we were talking earlier about pollen here in Atlanta because you're in Atlanta also.
Yes.
And I think I just inhaled a tree.
Oh,
Um
wow.
but you know, there there are certainly times for them where
Hmm.
it really makes sense.
Hmm.
You get frequently asked questions. I have I manage Facebook pages for companies,
Hmm.
and we always there are what's your address, what's your phone number,
Hmm. Hmm.
what are your operating hours. A person, even if you're paying a minimum wage,
Hmm.
should not be sitting there going typey 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 typey.
Right. Right. You can use automation actually for that.
Hmm.
Just get them to agree kind of up front that, you know, you will at the end of this AI conversation, meet with dot dot dot.
Hmm.
So that you're already setting up the expectation that
Hmm.
at the end of the journey, this is going to happen.
Right.
But if they have the expectation that, oh, I'm just in a conversational AI and don't
Hmm.
have any clue of where it's
Hmm.
going to end or when it's going to end,
Hmm.
you'll get a lot of attrition
Hmm.
and people will just leave.
Right.
And so that's what small business owners who are trying to program it themselves,
Hmm.
or even if you program it yourself, you should run a test
Hmm.
pilot.
Right.
Where you take a certain
Hmm.
cohort of people
Hmm.
and see how it goes, and
Hmm.
and then go and schedule a meeting with them and see,
Hmm.
hey, you know what, I was testing this chatbot, and they'll give you their opinion.
Hmm. Right.
Once again, we're talking
Hmm.
about customer reviews.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. And it's easy to test. I mean, and as you said, you have somebody else test it
Mhm.
because I know what I want it to say, and I know, and so I'm gonna,
Right.
I want somebody else who knows nothing about it to
Right.
try the system.
Absolutely.
And to say, okay, I asked it this and I got this answer, and I
Hmm.
didn't understand why. And of course, you're right. The second we don't get
Hmm.
the answer we want, we're gone.
You're right. I always tell my
Mhm,
test pilots to go and try to break it.
mhm, I
See what
know.
happens when you add something crazy,
Right.
because you're right. That
Mhm,
attrition, the second we don't get what
mhm,
we want,
mhm,
we'll leave. And,
mhm,
that's a lost lead.
mhm,
So you want to be aware of that because people's time is very valuable.
mhm,
And you want to respect it. Yours is
mhm,
valuable as well. That's why you have a chat,
mhm,
but respect the time back and forth.
mhm,
And then you should do well, in using the technology.
mhm. Right. Right. And we're talking about all this because, especially for small business owners and entrepreneurs, like I said, we only have 28 hours in our day.
Right.
And but we absolutely should be using these tools.
Mhm.
And there is certainly ways to do it. And I tell people, spend 15 minutes on LinkedIn while you're
Mhm.
eating your breakfast, while you're, doing
Right.
whatever. And I tell them, okay, I just saw that you were, pretty much on Facebook for over an hour.
Right.
45 minutes on Facebook,
Mhm.
15 on LinkedIn. I'm not going to say don't go
Mhm.
on Facebook,
Mhm.
but I had somebody the other day, and professor, I went, they asked me, they said, I'm not on LinkedIn. I think it's a waste of time.
Mm, mm,
What do
mm.
you tell that person?
That is very interesting because professors should be one of the people that should make a commitment to being on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm,
As we talked about thought leadership,
mm-hmm,
they kind of carry the label, right behind professor.
mm-hmm,
You think of, what have you studied that you need to share,
mm-hmm.
with the world? The problem, though, that professor is probably experiencing is not talking to the right target
Right.
audience
Mm-hmm,
because he or she doesn't
mm-hmm,
understand it.
mm-hmm.
And so LinkedIn does this wonderful thing. They have LinkedIn learning paths.
Oh, I love
And
those. I
you do
love
you?
LinkedIn
Okay.
Learning. Mm-hmm,
I recommend everyone,
mm-hmm,
more especially these adjunct faculty of marketing, to go through the LinkedIn learning
mm-hmm,
paths, because if you don't, and you put yourself in front of these students
mm-hmm,
of the future
mm-hmm,
that will be doing marketing,
mm-hmm,
I think you're missing a gap.
mm-hmm,
That's one of the ways that you can close the gap is
mm-hmm,
by actually learning something new
mm-hmm,
about marketing yourself,
mm-hmm.
and
Right.
then using your podium
Mm-hmm,
as a faculty
mm-hmm,
member, in your next season or session or quarter,
mm-hmm,
to share what LinkedIn is doing with
mm-hmm.
branding, demand generation, and account-based marketing.
Right, right. Yeah, LinkedIn learning programs are fabulous. There's I don't even know how many thousands there are now. I mean, there's
Oh,
so
ton.
many,
Right.
and they can vary between a 10-minute thing to
Hmm.
several hours,
Hmm.
and it's just a great resource for
Hmm.
anybody who's going, hey, I need, how do I do chatbots? Well, there's
Right.
probably LinkedIn Learning about it.
Hmm.
And it's funny because people are always, well, I'll just, I'll look it up on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, right? We do that all the time. How do we do this? We look it up on YouTube.
Right.
But LinkedIn Learning, they vetted those. Those people
Oh,
know
yes.
what they're talking about. And
Yeah.
and it truly is in many cases, academic faculty who's presenting
Hmm.
and business people. And so
Absolutely.
that's where LinkedIn Learning is just such a valuable resource that so many people don't even know exists, or they think you have to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell the difference in the content.
Hmm,
You can tell that because it's very well scripted.
hmm,
I would call LinkedIn Learning of social media the Harvard, the Princeton, the
hmm,
Morehouse of
hmm.
social media in
Right.
terms of how they teach. And
And
you
they
know,
have people from those places who do LinkedIn Learning programs.
yes, yes. And so it's worth sharing the knowledge, and then from there you'll get to understand it. Hey, while I'm on the airplane, let me do this 10-minute
Hmm,
LinkedIn kind of course
right.
versus watching a movie.
Hmm,
Which one
hmm.
would be more valuable to where you're trying to go?
Right, right. And they also offer certifications,
They
which
do.
then those get listed in your LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely. And
So,
that makes
that's
you more
great.
credible.
Hmm,
They've got LinkedIn mastery certification
hmm,
so that you master a platform.
hmm,
And, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about C-level executives and
hmm,
business sales teams.
hmm,
As these people get to understand how LinkedIn is designed, they can run pay-per-click ads
hmm.
to a targeted C-level executive. I
Right.
mean,
Hmm,
it's difficult to talk to a C-level executive.
hmm.
They've got watchdogs, they got
Right.
people in place, so
Hmm,
you can't talk to them. But the one place that you can get a
hmm,
chance, other than direct
hmm.
mail, is LinkedIn InMail,
Right. Hmm,
or running a conversational ad
hmm,
where you've described in your target
hmm,
demographics that this ad is only intended for dot, dot, dot.
hmm,
And you can dynamically put their title,
hmm,
dynamically put their name,
hmm,
so that when that C-level executive has 15 minutes to look at
hmm,
LinkedIn and scrolling down, they see their company and their
hmm,
name, they will stop
hmm,
because they want to know what that's about.
hmm.
And how did my name and company get up there?
Right.
And then you have the opportunity to talk to them directly about, what you offer, and you don't want to be salesy. You just want to provide them something related to their company and then get to the business solution later. But
Right.
you at least got some eyes on it. And LinkedIn will give you information. They call them LinkedIn tag insights on, who's visiting your landing page or your website, so that you know that you're not wasting your ad spend. So
Because
there's a
they
lot
want
to
you to
it.
get your money's worth so you continue doing it.
They do. They intend for, these people to congregate around LinkedIn. And that's why they put so much investment in LinkedIn Learning, so that you can learn how to go about using the platform.
Right. Right. And again, the cool thing about LinkedIn Learning is, for the most part, they are short. And yeah, so you're sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to sit here and eat my ham sandwich. I can watch some YouTube videos, or
Right.
I'm going to learn something.
I'm gonna learn something.
And they're just fabulous for being able to do that.
And
It's go ahead.
ideally, if you direct someone to learning something, if they get that advice from you, like we're advising them now, ideally they would want to follow you and see what else you have, to say about LinkedIn. So, that's the other thing that LinkedIn Learning kind of provides. If you're the one that, kind of held their hand and got them into it, and they started seeing benefit, all of a sudden you got common ground. And you, prior to, even connecting with this person, you didn't even know them. How do you get them to trust you? You give them some knowledge. You give a person you don't know some knowledge, and then they'll open up because you shared something I didn't know.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I do with the LinkedIn Learning is they always give their LinkedIn information. And so I connect with them. And, and I always tell people, never, ever, ever just send a request to connect. You need to send a note. Even if you talked to them 15 minutes ago, I don't remember your name. And so I will, I'll do their program, and then I will send them a request to connect, and then I send a note. I just watched your program on yada, yada, yada. And stroke their ego a little bit, or you might disagree. I mean, it's okay to respectfully disagree, but let them know that you enjoyed, as you said, I enjoyed learning that from you.
We should be about the business of encouraging networking, not discouraging. And so, a thank you, or I enjoyed your ... or what do you think about this, or what's your advice? You'd be surprised at how many times people will, give you opportunity to speak with them if you're asking for their advice based on what you think they already know.
Right. Yeah. For example, maybe you've got a LinkedIn Learning on chatbots. I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to say, okay, sending you a request to connect, or maybe we're already connected, and then I send you a message and I say, oh my gosh, I just watched this. It was great. How do I do X?
Right.
That's where, and I mean, sometimes you'll get people who don't respond.
Yeah, that happens.
Okay, whatever. But most of the time, especially because people who are on LinkedIn, who are on there to network and make connections, understand it's a two-way street.
Right. Absolutely. Sometimes people, and I want to speak to that, sometimes people get lost on this purpose. So I'm glad you said a two-way street. They will accept your connection and then get ghosted. But these are people who don't quite understand it yet. They're taking a selfish approach in that I just want to connect so that I can have access to your first, second, and third connections.
Oh yeah, no,
and that speaks to what you were talking about earlier. We need to have a conversation, because some of us hold our connections very valuable. Because it's important. Anytime you're over, at least 1,000 connections, you should kind of chime down who you're connecting with. When you first get on, you want to make connections so that you can connect with the right people. But
and there's the algorithms in LinkedIn like you to have more connections, because it means that you're using the platform.
Right.
How funny! I just got a LinkedIn message. And that was what that little beep was. And of course, the way that salespeople use LinkedIn is just always something that is fascinating to me, because you've got the people who are in your face. I'm going to sell you something. I've never met you, and you're going to buy from me. And I love the people who send that in the request to connect. I got one of those today that said, "We've never met, but," and I'm like, okay, no, or you accept the request to connect, and then whoop, you get the
Right.
sell.
Yes.
And
Right.
and I always ignore those. And my favorites are the ones who and I'll start playing with people sometimes. I'll go,
Right.
sometimes I respond
Yeah.
and
See where this is going.
or more than likely I will respond and say, you clearly did not read my profile because I do not need someone to teach me how to use social media.
Uh-huh. Right.
And
Right.
or the people that obviously it says podcaster in my title, and so I get a lot of people who are going to help me have a successful podcast, and I will respond and I will
Mm,
say, I've recorded over 760 episodes. I'm pretty
right.
sure I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then you get crickets, right? They never respond and say, oops.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But you mentioned something that I thought is a fabulous way to do sales on
Mhm.
LinkedIn in a nice way, and that's the customer stories.
Absolutely.
And so tell us more about how you can use customer stories to really be engaging with people.
Well, if you get some success stories, and
Mhm,
you will, customer success stories,
mhm,
you want to amplify it. You want to
mhm,
broadcast that. But how do you do that? Don't just post the article.
mhm,
You can post the article,
mhm,
but once again, give your insight,
mhm,
how you were personally involved in
mhm,
this customer's success story
mhm,
would be valuable
mhm.
information. How you felt about your interaction with this particular
Yeah.
customer when you were bringing them success.
Mhm,
You can kind of allude to the numbers that they got from your product or service that you
mhm.
um, provided to this particular customer. And don't forget this: have your customer to be noted that, hey, you know what, I posted your success story on
Right.
LinkedIn.
Yeah,
You
tag
know,
them.
tag them, yeah,
Mhm,
and get them to
mhm.
respond to that. And the
Hopefully they'll
funny way,
respond and say, "Oh my gosh, this was fabulous."
hopefully, and that's why you have to be transparent and be honest in your customer success story. Because if you tag them and they respond, one or two things: you tag them, they respond. They may not be social media savvy. Okay.
Mhm,
However, you can send them a little gift
mhm,
card
mhm.
by email. Say,
Right.
hey, we were celebrating your customer
Mhm,
success story on LinkedIn, and then
mhm,
send them the link
mhm,
inside of that,
mhm.
and more than likely you'll get a response. The
Right.
more salespeople do this on
Mhm,
LinkedIn, the better off they are,
mhm.
especially for high ticket sales.
Right. And you can just be doing a post explaining,
Mhm.
hey, we worked with this person. Here's what we did. And you might even say, this didn't work, and
Yeah.
so then we did this and things like that. Because we love hearing the stories. You
Mhm.
mentioned it earlier. We like to connect with people who have similar interests.
Mhm.
And so when we read someone else's story, we're like, "Oh, yeah, I had that happen to me too. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, what do
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was having
Mhm.
trouble doing,
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
this person talked about how they had the same issue
Mhm.
or they
And what
helped
the
someone with that issue."
Right. And what that sales business development team is
Mhm,
actually branding the company,
mhm,
unknowingly, but that interaction is branding. Hey,
mhm,
this company really cares. They go
mhm,
all the way over here. They did
mhm,
dot, dot, dot. And you mentioned, even when you're not successful sharing that, I
mhm,
agree, because things aren't perfect,
mhm.
but it's how you handled it.
Right.
So if for whatever reason it wasn't successful,
Mhm,
but you just had the absolute best customer service in the world,
mhm.
and your customer responds and say, yeah, it didn't work out the way we intended it first. We worked it out
Mhm.
because
Right.
customer service
Mhm,
dot, dot, dot.
mhm.
That's even more priceless.
Right, right. And obviously, if you're going to share, you mentioned making sure it's okay with them first, or you can do it in ways where you don't use their company name, you don't put their last name. I mean, things like that. We see that all the time. And it depends on clearly what is the product or service. There are times where I don't want anybody to know.
Right.
And so, but if somebody said, hey, we worked with Deb, we did this and this and this, and
Uh-huh.
never identified me, I still know more than likely it's a real person when I
Uh-huh.
read it.
Uh-huh. Right.
But yeah, that's sharing someone else's success story or talking about it is a great way to be saying, here
Mhm.
is what we do, here is what people pay for,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
without the red buy for me signs.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Oh wait, I've
Absolutely.
got an aid.
Love it.
Right?
Love
Because
it.
we
Yeah.
want that, but we
Yeah.
all, as the person reading the post, we don't want to
Mhm.
be hit over the head with it.
Right. Yeah, it's so important, and again, the new generation, the future leaders of marketing, hopefully will hear this and find benefit in this. At some point, I know they'll find benefit. I just want to make sure that they hear the value insights inside of here, because as they begin to understand not to approach people so salesy and how to use the platform beyond what they're currently using it for, LinkedIn, I think, will be leading that charge that way. LinkedIn Learning, adjunct faculty, getting them on board with what LinkedIn is speaking about with branding, demand generation, and account-based marketing. The CEOs actually, encouraging it by being in a thought leadership position. We know that they're thought leaders because they achieved the position, but we want to hear your voice. We want to hear you say it, and LinkedIn is the platform for it. But bringing all these people together to do it is kind of a struggle. So what I have done to support that is created a program of digital marketing apprentices.
Perfect. I've got it open on my screen right here. I love it.
Okay. And, basically what I do is I mentor, encourage, and enroll them free of charge to my school of direct response marketing. And from there, they don't learn LinkedIn. Now, I don't compete with LinkedIn because LinkedIn does such a wonderful job. I just make the introduction.
Right.
But I do mentor them on LinkedIn because that's the highest level. I do teach them more about Facebook advertising, Instagram, and a little bit of TikTok. And I don't stray away from the basics. The traditional advertisers some years ago, expressed to us, hey, find out what's the mass desire and speak to that. Do that in your ad. If you're going to take that approach, your pay-per-click ad, and there are 7 landmarks, to that you should always touch on. I hope I can remember. I wrote them down somewhere. Oh, I did. So those 7 landmarks, when you write in your ad copy, and whether this is organic or, pay-per-click, always remember these things. 1, presentation, invitation, and validation. Okay. And everybody knows presentation, but invite people, don't sell them. And then validate whatever's going on. 2, personalize it. We've been talking about that the entire time. Customer reviews, how to get someone's opinion, thought leadership. And then 3, you have to create an architecture of belief. I'm not going to buy unless I believe it, especially as adults. You can't just sell me something.
It's that whole know, like, trust thing.
It is. And how you do that, share knowledge. I believe you if you share knowledge that I didn't know about. Now I'm more open to what you're talking about. And then 4, remove the roadblocks before the objection. So again, there are many ways to do that. I won't go into it now. But 5, show your prospect, how does it work? Sometimes it's better just, hey, this is how it works. And then they can make that jump or leap into whether they need it now, later, or even, save it, which is I do oftentimes. Like, hey, I need that, but not right now. So if you show me how it works, then I'll save you in my contact somewhere. You may not even know it. And then I'll call you out of the blind. And then all of a sudden you've got a contract or a job. Competitive attack is number 6. Sometimes you have to speak against your competition, but in a nice way.
Right. You don't bash them.
No, you don't bash them. But what you can do is write an ad that speaks to the bullet points why your product is better without even mentioning their name, which is the best way to do it. And then 7, borrow authority. There are a lot of people out here that know what they're talking about. And that's the purpose of an article. You read it so that you can understand it, borrow their authority, reshare it, and then give your insights.
Right.
And
don't plagiarize it. You're still giving them credit.
Please, let's clarify that. Don't plagiarize. But it is okay to copy and paste one line out and then, put their name behind it and then share the article with it and give your insights. That's okay, as long as they get credit. And those are the 7 landmarks I speak to in the School of Direct Response Marketing.
Right. I love that, and I love too that your program is for any level of people. Maybe it's somebody who's just getting out of school. Maybe it's somebody who's changing career paths, all these various things. Because especially in the last 2 years, everybody's been up and down and all over everywhere. And, being able to do this apprenticeship program through you is a great way for somebody to get their start or to hone their skills,
We intend and hope to grow it bigger. Right now, I've got about 5 digital marketing apprentices up under my
Wow.
umbrella. And, I've recently applied for the United States Department of Labor Registered Apprenticeship Program.
Oh, cool.
So let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope that that 13 years of Dean of Education experience benefits, in a more massive way for those people who don't have anywhere to go or want to reskill. We take anyone who's willing to learn. Only 3 requirements is that you have to be hungry, you have to be coachable, and you have to be honest with integrity to let me know what you don't know so I can better serve you.
Right.
And those are the only requirements.
And I love it when people tell me, oh, I've been on Facebook for years. I've been on, TikTok, whatever. There's a very different, when you've been a consumer, say, as opposed to the person who's putting your message out there. And it's certainly very different to be putting it out there from a professional perspective.
Oh, it is.
I think we see people all the time, back to LinkedIn, where they're posting. It's what we were saying at the start. They're posting on LinkedIn exactly like they would post on Facebook. It's like, oh, no.
Yeah. It's okay to post and learn because you should be posting first, post somewhere else. Where
and don't think, oh my gosh, it's got to be perfect, because then you're never going to post.
Yeah. We want you to get practice. That's why you're connecting with people that like you, so they don't think, negatively of you. But then that's practice, because if you get some kind of feedback from that, then that's one of those posts that you might want to put in the parking lot and say, hey, I'll come back and look at that when it's time to do some pay-per-click ads and see how it runs then, because then I can amplify it. But practice makes perfect. You have to actually use these tools. And then sometimes it's good to have a mentor by your side that can help you with, what goes wrong. And the first thing I look at people when they say, oh, I've known Facebook for years, the first question I ask them, okay, are you aware of the ads manager? And they say, what is that? Okay, that means you don't know the backside, the business of LinkedIn or Facebook. And so so you have some limited beliefs in what it can do for you.
Right. And the other thing is, it's always changing. Whatever the platform is, it's always changing. And none of us can be expected to know all those changes. And so that's part of why you want to connect with some of the thought leaders in LinkedIn to, and like you said, some of the marketing people, all of those various people, because that's where we're going to learn the latest and greatest tips, techniques, trends, all of those things.
Yeah, we learn from each other. I have a coach as well that, taught me a lot about business while I was concentrated on learning the social media. So we all need each other. If we, respect each other's lane and partner with the right partners, we'll end up, taking each other to the next level, and then being able to share that to whomever comes and seeks the knowledge or requests our service or product or whatever we can do for them. We'll feel a lot more comfortable. I know I feel a lot more comfortable when I'm able to share knowledge and walk away and with a smile. That is, sometimes more priceless than money.
Definitely. Well, oh my gosh, we are almost at the top of the hour, Todd, and we've been having so much fun. But for people who are interested in your services and in your apprenticeship program, how do they find you?
You can find me by my email address or website. My email address is Todd, Todd, at chatbotgeniusllc.com. Or you can subscribe to my website, the School of Direct Response Marketing. .com or School of Direct Response Marketing.now.site. It's free, to enter your information. You'll get a lot more about what social media is intended for through some email drip campaigns that share it with you. That really speaks to the teaching part of social media and how it can improve your business. Or if you're starting entrepreneur or thinking about entrepreneurship, it's definitely something to take a look at.
Right. And of course, we will have your LinkedIn profile link in our show notes for people to see that there. So, and I always tell people though, like I said a little bit ago, don't just send the request to connect. When you send your request to connect, say, oh my gosh, I just learned so much from you on the Business Power Hour. And then you go, oh, well, I must connect with this person, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's the trick is you want to to tell people, just that little bit.
Mhm.
We just met for coffee, or
Uh-huh.
I just saw your presentation.
Yeah.
Just that little bit, as opposed
Yeah.
to just the cricket thing, because
Right.
I almost never am going to connect with somebody
Yeah.
unless I look and we've got a whole bunch of mutual connections. I'm
Yeah.
not going
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely a best practice.
mhm,
So
mhm.
you're on it.
I love it. Well, Todd, this has been absolutely fabulous.
It
And
has.
I have learned, and
Mhm.
I've learned through the whole month of programs that we have done. So
Mhm.
hopefully my viewers and my listeners have also.
Mhm.
Do
Okay.
you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with? And remember, you're the absolute last program for LinkedIn for this focus. So what final thoughts do you have?
Well, I love sharing knowledge,
Mhm.
and you can tell, by some of the conversation that, we had today. But, I love to leave this, final thought of, I help digital marketing novices to digital marketing professionals.
Mm.
And
And
here
that's
we
it,
are.
folks. I love
So
it.
thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been wonderful. I don't have much experience with podcasts, and just as we talked about earlier,
Mhm,
you always can learn from someone else if you have an open mind
mhm.
and connect with the right people.
Right. Well, and I can see you doing many more podcasts.
Okay.
So this is
Sounds
great.
like an invitation. All right.
Right. So I am Deb Creer. I've been having a great time talking with Todd Mann. Until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.